Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rupak Chakravarti, faculty member, Department of Library and Information Science, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Today I am going to talk about information literacy standards, foundations and implications. Paper is Media and Information Literacy. Let's first understand the objectives of this lesson. The first objective is to discuss the conceptual and theory of information literacy, which is also known as IL. Explain the information literacy standards in terms of students' learning. Explain the main models of information literacy. Plan an information literacy instruction program for any given audiences. Plan and develop effective information literacy assignments and develop an assessment tool for their information literacy assignment. It will also discuss information literacy models, for example, SCONAL model, IL standards including UNESCO standard, Swiss information literacy standard and 9 information literacy standards, library's role in the IL instruction. It will also include IL competency standard for higher education, IL practices, IL assessment and IL curriculum outline. Information literacy, as we all know, has become a survival skill for the contemporary society. It entails individuals who are skillful in the use of information. Information is available through libraries, community resources, special interest organizations, media, and the internet. And increasingly, information comes to individuals in unfiltered formats, raising question about its authenticity, validity, and reliability. In addition, information is also available through multiple media including graphical, oral, textual, and these pose new challenges for individuals in evaluating and understanding it. The uncertain quality and expanding quantity of information pose large challenges for the society. The sheer abundance of information will not in itself create a more informed citizenry without a complementary cluster of abilities necessary to use information effectively. In such a scenario, where we expect people to take informed decisions independently, the relevance of information literacy increases many-fold. Be it any kind of organization, association, or profession, and irrespective of gender, country, status, age, and other social indicator, information literacy is and will remain an important dimension. American Library Association ALA has described information literacy as the ability to locate, evaluate and use information. It is a set of abilities requiring individuals to recognize when information is needed and have the ability to locate that information, after location evaluate and use effectively the needed information. CILIP has also defined information literacy. According to CILIP, information literacy is knowing when and why you need information, from where to find it, and how to evaluate, use, and communicate it in an ethical manner. SCONAL has also defined information literacy. As per them, information literate people will demonstrate an awareness of how they gather, use, manage, and synthesize and create information and data in an ethical manner and will have the information skills to do so effectively. Information literacy makes people understand the issues surrounding the use of information and access and use information ethically and legally. Rockman has rightly said, he observed that information literacy is no longer just a library issue. It crosses all the boundaries. It is important for all the disciplines. It is the critical campus-wide issue for the 21st century of keen importance to all educational stakeholders, including faculty, librarians, administrators, and us. This diagram indicates the attributes of an information literate person. The attributes have been displayed through 5 colored rings. The first ring says identify. That means an information literate person will have to identify his or her information need. Then he or she will have to locate that information, then evaluate the information for the purpose, then apply it for the need, and then acknowledgement part is again very important. After following these 5 steps, a person can gain the attributes of an information literate person. Slide number 9. Dear students, this diagram presents the landscape of the information literacy. In the first layer, the domains have been shown, and on the second layer, the subdomains have been shown. The domains are abilities and skills, mediation, motivations, environment, personal attributes, feelings about IL, perceptions of IL, conceptions of IL, and information behaviors. There are various subdomains which are very crucial in order to understand the concept of information literacy. These subdomains include planning, listening, assessment, achievement, personal gain, beliefs, learning style, learning attitudes, anxiety, frustration, finding information, executing a process, trust, dependence, to name a few. In this diagram, it has also been highlighted that mediation is also very crucial for the process of information literacy, and the role of librarian becomes utmost important in facilitating the users to gain all these domains and subdomains. Students, let us now discuss information literacy standards. First of all, we will have to understand what is a standard. The International Organization for Standardization, that is ISO, defines a standard as a document that provides requirements, specifications, guidelines, or characteristics that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, products, processes, and services are fit for their purpose. Unless we understand the concept of a standard, we cannot actually think of information literacy standard. The information literacy standard takes us a step ahead, where we discuss the optimal use of information for enhancing personal as well as societal productivity and efficiency. Dear students, the information literacy standard can be used to frame curriculum objectives, learning outcomes, and assessment criteria, and serve as guidelines for faculty, librarians, and others who are involved in developing the information literacy programs. Society of College, National and University Libraries, that is SCONAL, has given a very prominent core model for higher education pertaining to information literacy. It is popularly known as 7 pillars of information literacy. These 7 pillars has been used to build the learning outcomes for information and research skills. The model presents the 7 pillars of the IL landscape. Each pillar is very crucial and has to be understood very comprehensively. This diagram presents the 7 pillars model of information literacy as given by SCONAL. The pillars are manage, evaluate, present, gather, identify, plan, and scope. All these steps are very important. The first step starts from this identify step, where the user is asked to gather the information gaps, what is his or requirement, and based upon the information need, the user will have to find the information, locate the information, gather the information, and evaluate the information, followed by using the information. And last but not the least, the user, after usage of the information, is supposed to present the information in order to make the knowledge base fruitful for others. As discussed earlier, these steps are given in detail here, Identify here means able to identify a personal need for information. Scope includes assess current knowledge and identify gaps. Plan means construct strategies for locating information and data. Gather means locate and access the information and data they need. Any information literate person should be able to evaluate, should be able to review the research process and compare and evaluate information and data. Manage includes organize information professionally and ethically, and present means he should be able to apply the knowledge gained, that is, presenting the results of the research, synthesizing new and old information and data to create new knowledge and disseminating it in a variety of ways. The present slide displays the screenshot of National Association for Media Literacy Education, which has given standards for the media literacy in higher education. National Association for Media Literacy Education has given the following 6 standards which are widely discussed. Media literacy education requires active inquiry and critical thinking about the messages we receive and create. Media literacy education expands the concept of literacy in all forms of media, including reading and writing. Media literacy education builds and reinforces skills for learners of all ages, like print literacy. Those skills necessitate integrated, interactive, and repeated practices. Media literacy education develops informed, reflective, and engaged participation essential for a democratic society. Media literacy education recognizes that media are a part of culture and function as agents of socialization. And the sixth, media literacy education affirms that people use their individual skills, beliefs, and experiences to construct their own meanings from media messages. Dear students, in this diagram, the information literacy standards as given by UNESCO have been described. These standards include recognize their information needs, locate and evaluate the quality of information, store and retrieve information, make effective and ethical use of information, and apply information to create and communicate knowledge. Models were developed to define information literacy and outline information seeking process, including information problem solving process, the research process. They are like a roadmap for navigating through the information skill process. Models represent the information seeking process you go through when you are looking for information to answer questions, complete an assignment, or just explore something you are curious about. There are several models been given, like information seeking model, the Big Six model, the Irving information skills model, Pitts and Stripling stress process, New South Wales information process, then information literacy model, then information skill model, then Info Ohio, and then SCONAL. Information literacy standards for student learning was given by AASL and AECT in the year 1998. Information literacy competency standard for higher education was given by ACRL in the year 2000. In the year 2004, ANZIL and CAUL gave the information literacy framework, principles, standards, and practice. IFLA gave the information literacy standards in the year 2006. The Swiss standards of information literacy enable consistent placement and promotion of information literacy at the various universities. They provide guidance in the design of the courses and course offering and enable the development of compatible university cross-training concepts. These standards support the collaboration between library staff and faculty of various disciplines and facilitate agreements between libraries and university administration. This shows that information literacy can be understood as an interaction of different sub-competencies and various models of information literacy emphasize this aspect by presenting a procedural sequence of sub-competencies. Despite some widespread definitions, there is, however, no generally accepted understanding of information literacy. Reasons for this are the interdisciplinary nature of the mediated skills as well as strong connections to neighboring interdisciplinary skills such as media literacy. With the UNESCO definition as a base, the Swiss standards were developed using the Australian and New Zealand information literacy framework of the Australian and New Zealand Institute for Information Literacy. The internationally established information literacy competency standards for higher education of the American Association of College and Research Libraries. Studies of recent past have shown that information literacy must be fully understood and must not be restricted to the use of library tools. Especially the aspects of use of information and the responsibility to information has moved to the foreground and win academic importance. The inclusion of these aspects in existing concepts of information literacy was timely and included the development of 6 standards accordingly. Through the formulation of the new standards, content could be simultaneously adjusted to the culture of the Swiss audience. Taking into account the 3 linguistic cultures, German, French and Italian, the developed concepts were limited to the essentials. Thus, the content for all 3 cultures remain understandable and experience a wider acceptance, and implementation standards can be regarded as generally recognized objectives which are formulated on an abstract level and describe an area of competency in few words. For teaching purposes, standards needs to be supplemented by a more detailed description of skills required by a specific target group. With a modular grid including skills on 3 levels, that is beginner, advanced and expert level, the necessary specifications for different environments were realized. The level beginners describes the skills needed for a first year student, while the level advanced focuses on the skills needed for a student at the transition from bachelor's to the master's level. The third level, that is the expert level, is aimed at students who pursue further scientific work in research or industry. The competency grid is to be used in accordance with its modular design. The corresponding requirements may be, depending on the context, configured differently and may require different prioritization. Let us now discuss the Swiss standard for the information literacy in detail. The standard 1 says that the information literate person recognizes the need for information and determines the nature and extent of the information needed. The information literate person defines and articulates the information need referring to a defined purpose. The information literate person understands the purpose, scope, and appropriateness of a variety of information sources. Also, the information literate person selects and uses diverse sources of information to inform decisions. The Standard 2 of the Swiss Information Literacy Standards states that the information literate person finds needed information effectively and efficiently, and this should be the need of the hour also. In this standard 2, the focus is on retrieval. The standard says that the information literate person selects efficient methods or tools for finding information. The standard says that the information literate person constructs and implements effective search strategies. According to standard 2, the information literate person obtains information using appropriate methods. Let us now discuss the standard 3 as given by the Swiss Information Literacy Standard. The standard 3 states that the information literate person critically evaluates information and the information seeking process. In this standard, that is the standard 3, the focus is on assessment. It says that the information literate person defines and applies criteria for evaluating information. A person is information literate in the sense that he or she assesses the usefulness of the information obtained. An information literate person re-evaluates the nature and extent of the information need. According to standard 3, the information literate person reflects on the information seeking process and receives search strategies as necessary. Standard 4 of the Swiss Information Literacy Model focuses on organization. This standard states that the information literate person manages and shares information collected or generated. According to Standard 4, the information literate person records information selected and its sources, organizes, classifies, and stores information using appropriate methods. Information literate person shares information with others. The standard says that the information literate person keeps up to date with information sources, information technologies, and investigative methods. Let us now discuss the Standard 5 of the Swiss Information Literacy Model. Standard 5 states that the information literate person applies prior and new information to accomplish a specific purpose. This standard focuses on application. Standard 5 says that the information literate person applies new and prior information to the creation of new knowledge or a particular product. The information literate person communicates the new knowledge or product effectively to others. Also, the information literate person revises the creation and communication process of knowledge or product. Let us now discuss the Standard 6 of the Swiss Information Literacy Model. The Standard 6 of the Swiss Literacy Model states that the information literate person acts as a responsible member of the information society. This standard focuses on responsibility. Standard 6 states that the information literate person acknowledges cultural, ethical, and socio-economic issues related to the use of information. The information literate person conforms with conventions and etiquette related to the use of information. It also states that the information literate person legally obtains, stores, and disseminates all kinds of information. Dear students, let us now discuss the 9 information literacy standards for student learning, which is very important, by the American Association of School Librarians and the Association for Educational Communication Technology. The 9 standards are discussed as: in Standard 1, the student who is information literate accesses information efficiently and effectively. Standard 2 says that the student who is information literate evaluates information critically and competently. The Standard 3 states that the student who is information literate uses information accurately and creatively. So, what we can infer from these three standards are: information by a student has to be dealt efficiently, effectively, critically, competently, accurately, and creatively. Let us now discuss the standard 4, 5, 6 amongst the 9 standards. Standard 4. The student who is an independent learner is information literate and pursues information related to personal interests. Standard 5 states that the student who is an independent learner is information literate and appreciates literature and other creative expressions of information. Standard 6. The student who is an independent learner is information literate and strives for excellence in information seeking and knowledge generation. So, what we find that these standards, Standard 4, Standard 5 and Standard 6, are basically focused on the independent learning aspects of the student so that the student can best make use of the information. Out of the 9 information literacy standards for the student literacy, Standard 7, Standard 8 and Standard 9 are focused on social responsibility. Standard 7 states that the student who contributes positively to the learning community and to society is information literate and recognizes the importance of information to a democratic society. The Standard 8 states that the student who contributes positively to the learning community and to society is information literate and practices ethical behavior in regard to information and information technology. Standard 9 states that the student who contributes positively to the learning community and to society is information literate and participates effectively in groups to pursue and generate information. Dear students, let us now discuss the librarian's role in the information literacy instruction, because after all, libraries have much importance in the transmission of information literacy. In higher education, the role of library instruction is to create lifelong learners, and the path to that goal is through information literacy skills. Two goals of information literacy instruction are to be taught students how to learn and how to become independent learners. Librarians have offered many names for library instruction, including bibliographic instruction, etc., etc. But in recent years, library instruction is referred as information literacy instruction. Whatever the name be, the core essence or concern are the access and use of information. Gracin and Koplowitz report a long list of methods for library instruction in IL, which includes signage, maps, site, website, maps, kiosks, guided tours, self-guided tours, virtual tours, exhibits, flip charts, blackboards, whiteboards, etc. Videotapes, point of use guides, pathfinders, exercise, computer assisted instruction, reference questions, individual research consultations, course integrated or standalone one-shot group sessions, formal courses, discussion boards, chat, email or listservs, and web pages all are part of this list. A successful program of library instruction will incorporate online databases. Online databases will include both opaque and subscription database and the World Wide Web. The goal here is to make the students active participant in the library instruction rather than mere passive listener. In this regard, the library acts as a facilitator enabler which enables the students to foster their own information literacy. What happens in turn? In turn, information literacy which has been achieved provides two advantages to the institution. Subjectively, it promotes a learning centered environment for the students, and objectively, it provides measurable, quantifiable data for the institutions to assess its goals and thereby meet a accreditation criteria. Let us now discuss the information literacy competency standards for higher education. The Information Literacy Competency Standards for Higher Education provides a framework for assessing the information literate individual. Faculty, librarians, and others pinpoint specific indicators that identify a student as information literate. Students also will find the competencies useful because they provide students with a framework for gaining control over how they interact with information in their environment. It will help to sensitize them to the need to develop a metacognitive approach to learning, making them cautious of the explicit actions required for gathering, analyzing, and using information. Students, this diagram presents the information literacy curriculum outline. In this diagram, you will find that there are 5 factors which are influencing the information literacy curriculum. These factors are governed by standards, models, emerging technologies, and needs and requirement. In the circle which is drawn in the diagram, you will find that there are several other factors like assessment, evaluation, teaching and learning activities, teaching methods, objectives, learning outcomes. These factors are indirectly or directly governed by the models, the standards, emerging technologies, and needs and requirement. The major focus you will find is on the content, which means that content is the heart and soul of the IL curriculum. It depends on the content, the quality of the content, the scope of the content, so that it may influence the student and make them information literate. Let us now summarize what we have studied. According to ISO, international standards are technological, have economical and societal benefits. According to the British Standard Institution BSI, a standard is an agreed way of doing something. It could be about making a product, managing a process, delivering a service, or supplying materials. Standard can have a huge range of activities undertaken by organizations and used by their customers. BSI equates standards to the distilled wisdom of people with expertise in their subject matter and who know the needs of the organizations they represent. The IL standard take us a step ahead where we discuss the optimal use of information for enhancing personal as well as the societal productivity and efficiency. Information literacy seeks to provide students with the knowledge access, evaluation, use, and the ethics of information sources. The outcomes attached to literacy standards are achievable partially by a well constructed program of library instruction, and the online delivery of resources will play an increasing role in this process. Library instruction alone, however, cannot guarantee information literacy. This goal is dependent on the cooperation of the parent institution, faculty members, library staff, and most of all, the individual students. If IL models and standards serve as guidelines for developing information literacy curriculum and can be used to frame curriculum objectives, learning outcomes, course content, and assessment criteria. If implemented and followed systematically, the information literacy standard can make the students professionals and the citizens at large as the global citizens who can lead us to the information society, as they are well equipped with self confidence, skills, competencies, better decision makers, more aware with clarity of mind. Thank you so very much.